Hey everyone, this is Nick, and I just kind of wanted to show you um, kind of the layout of the pillow and kind of talk through it visually because everything here will be included in the instructions, but sometimes I think it's just easier to get kind of a visual idea of it. So this is basically the prototype. Everyone's is going to look a little different because the quilts are all pretty different. Some people are gonna have like white patchwork fronts where the toys are gonna be sewn on, and these dark blue backgrounds. And then some people are gonna have like white fronts where the toys are gonna be sewn on, and then like bright red backgrounds. Um, but anyways, the first disclaimer is just to say that when you're sewing these pillows, we want to leave an inch border around every part of the pillow. We don't want to sew anything within an inch. And the reason for that is when we make the pillow, what we're going to do is we're going to take our bag and we're going to sandwich all the toys in between the pillow, and then we're going to sew it. We're going to sew it all the way around here except for a few inches, and then we're actually gonna flip it inside out. So when we sew it, you don't want any materials to get trapped in there. And I'll do it all in this video, and then maybe that'll make it a little clearer. But anyways, I just kind of want to talk about the quick material overview. So the first step, at least what I started with, was the lace over here. And now the lace is the only exception because you can sew the lace all the way up to the edge of the pillow. So you'll have like a 7 by 15 inch kind of allotment of lace. And you'll just put it all the way on the right side of the pillow, and it should take all the way up vertically. And then just sew like a straight, doesn't have to be a really small stitch. It can be kind of loose. Just a square stitch around that. Um, the next thing I did was this little noodly bath mat thing, and it seems really daunting to sew, but actually it's nice because all of like these little noodle things are aligned in columns and rows. And what that means is if you take your finger and just like press it into the bottom and you like just drag it up or sideways even, then you can and like spread them out like that, you can create a really clean like seam. So you're not going to have to be sewing through of the any of the actual noodles. But what I did was so on these three sides, I sewed a seam that was like one row in. So what that means is I basically took my finger and I spread it out. So there's one row of noodles over here, and then the rest are over here. And I don't know if you can see it, but I just sewed a seam right down there. And then I did the same thing over here on the bottom. There's a seam right along there. And then the same thing on this side. And I didn't do anything with the top seam, because I wanted to keep that as kind of a pocket so they can reach into that if they're so inclined. The next thing that I did was sewed on the zippers. And again, everything in this blanket, it does not have to be, exact. Just like I just made three kind of evenly spaced zippers, leaving an inch up here and a little bit of room between these two. And yeah, I just sewed it along the edge of the zippers right here. And the only thing that I'd keep in mind about the zippers is that it's kind of nice to have them in an alternating fashion. So what that means is like here, the metal zipper starts on this side. On the next one, it starts on this side, and then it goes back to this side. And that's kind of nice just because then they can zip in like opposite ways, you know? And then the next thing that I did was I sewed on this. It's actually a cut up belt, but it's basically ringlets that should already be like strung through with the shoelaces. That should already be in the kit. But I actually made a mistake with this one because I sewed all four sides down. And what I think is probably a better idea is to just sew one side down. Just like it can be the right or the left side. Just sew one of those sides down. And the reason for that is because if they pull it out and all four sides are sewed down, then it's going to be really hard to string, because this is just a shoelace, it's going to be hard to string it back through. And if only one side is sewed down, then they can just flip it over and then string it back through really easily. And then again, just leave like an inch over here and up top over there. The next thing I did was this card holder, and I want to say this for both this belt and the card holder, is that it's really difficult to pin them. I couldn't get a pin through either of these things, so what I kind of did was I just freehanded it. I just held it steady and then just tried to do as best of a line as I could. And you can also use tape. I think that would work really well just to secure it a little bit. But also, again, with this, just do these three sides and then leave this open, because this is for storing like photographs of family members or anything like that. And then the next thing that I did was I sewed on these wood rings. And so the plan is that the wood rings, the ribbon, and the button will already all be attached. They'll already all be attached. And the only thing that sewing volunteers are going to have to do is to sew this whole like contraption, I guess you call it, down in a straight line right there. And yeah, we don't want it to be a raw edge, so go ahead and just like fold it down like that, and then just sew it on straight like that. The next thing that I did was just sewed on this Velcro strap. And so it's a straight Velcro strap with the fuzzy side facing up. And I just sewed a single line right there through this kind of, I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of like a waffle pattern. I just sewed it straight in the middle of there. And then I put the stuffed animal on it. And this way it's removable. And it's just like that. And then the final thing I did was I sewed on these two interlocking Velcro straps. And so basically you're gonna have kind of a black thing that folds over, and each one is gonna have a fuzzy side and a kind of like a rough, hard plastic side. And before you put them on the blanket, I would suggest folding both of them over like that, so the blacks are just like stuck onto the fuzzy side. And about halfway through, so it makes a plus sign, sew the rough sides to each other. And so what that means is that on this side, there's the pink fuzzy, and then there's the yellow fuzzy right there. And by sewing that together, it'll create something where patients can't lose it, but it'll still allow for some kind of cool like mobility, and I'll show you that. So yeah, sew the rough sides together just about halfway through each, so it kind of creates this plus. And then once you do that, just sew a single line in this kind of waffle pattern up right there. And what that kind of allows patients to do is these wrap around like this. So they can put it through there like that. And then they can also put a Velcro strap through here. And that creates kind of this cool like interlocking ring pattern. And yeah, so next, once you have all these materials sewed down, now I'll show you how to make the pillow. And this right now, it's obviously just the quilt. The backside looks a little crazy, but you won't be seeing that on the final product. So I'm gonna stop the video and come back and kind of discuss how to sew it together.